Now we're going to talk a little bit about how to use the flow tool in the application on the car. Right now we're basically looking as if this was the nitrous regulator for the engine, and you have a line coming out each side of the regulator to each side of your direct port system. To use the flow tool on a direct port, or even if it were a plate system, let's say the left side was capped off and the right side was the fuel going to the plate. Basically on the car you would want to make sure the fuel pump was turned off. You'd want to break your line loose and remove the fuel outlet line off one side of the regulator, and then basically take the inlet line to the flow tool and attach it to the output side of the regulator and snug it up. At that point, especially if you're doing it by yourself, this is when the quarter turn valve on the flow tool really comes in handy, because you're able to go ahead, close the valve, which protects the gauge, as well as if the output line isn't in a bucket, and then you can go ahead and turn the fuel pump on and start the flow of fuel. Once you've got the fuel pump going, you can come back and make sure your discharge line's either in your fuel cell or in the tank, and at that point you can open up the valve, go ahead and look for the reading on your flow gauge, make any adjustments on the regulator that you may want to make. And again, if you're by yourself, you can go ahead, shut the fuel off, set the gauge down, and then turn the fuel pump off. Then once you've actually shut your pump back off, the next thing you want to do is go ahead and make sure you take off the flow tool. And most importantly, at that point, is to replace the line that's either feeding your direct port fuel or your plate system. Make sure it's snug. And at that point, what we like to do as well a lot of times is go ahead, if we deadhead in the system, and then take the other end of the lines at the solenoids, crack them and bleed the air back out, and lock them back tight. Make sure you have no leaks at that point. You're ready to go at that point. Previously, when I showed the flow tool, on the inlet hose, we just showed a conventional -6 hose end. I've now changed it to our optional quick disconnect that we like to use, not only for making flowing the fuel a lot quicker, but really most importantly, convenient and safer. A lot of times, guys, I've seen many times where they flowed their fuel with a -6 and got sidetracked, didn't put their hose back on or put their cap back on, and have started the car and resulted in a big fire. The nice thing about these are a valve fitting. They're quick on, quick off, and when you break them, it's a dry break and they seal back up on both ends. What we have in this configuration is our quick disconnect option. As you can see, we have our regulator configured, say, for a direct port system, or if it were a plate system, you just have your one outlet, where we have what we call the quick disconnect. It's what we refer to it as a male plug. It's the male end of the quick disconnect. The great thing about this is the safety. You don't have to take either of your fuel lines off to flow your fuel and worry about the risk of a fire or a leak afterwards. You basically just have your female socket that's already on your flow tool, if you've bought our quick disconnect flow tool, which you'll just basically take, pull the collar back, stick on, and it's ready to flow. At that point, we can turn the fuel pump on. We can start reading our gauge. We can make our fuel pressure adjustment that we're looking for. Go ahead and turn the pump off. And at that point, we're ready to disconnect and go back to racing. Thanks for watching our video. And if we can help you any other way, you can check out our website at inductionsolutions.com, or feel free to call the shop at 352-593-5900 for any of your nitrous needs, parts, or service. We appreciate your time. Have a nice day.